Would you like to know how to completely change the way that you are positioned on the internet right now in the virtual world? Keep on watching, because you're going to find this information incredibly interesting. My suggestion to you guys is to start thinking like a broadcaster. You mentioned a little bit earlier, Dave, that's your title. That's a title that you assumed the moment that we went on lockdown. So why a broadcaster?
The reason for being a broadcaster is because ultimately, if you're a speaker, it means that you go out and you do stuff on somebody else's stages. Generally, you need to have help. If you are a broadcaster, you've become a media house. Now, the thing about being an influencer, or the thing about being able to use any of the social media, is most of them now have a live or going live version. So the minute you go live on Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or Twitter or any of those things, you're making a broadcast. Now, once upon a time, broadcasting was something that would only be available for the big boys. For the BBC, for CNN, for Fox, for all these different organizations. They would be the people producing content for the world, and we're respected for that. Now, with fake news and various other things, now anybody can be a media house. Now anybody can broadcast. So part of it is semantics, the way you say it, but also it's about creating content that's relevant that people would want to watch. Not just posts, not somebody else's videos, but actually creating your own stuff, like you were making a very short TV show or very short video, and you know that it has influence and impact. That's why everyone should be considering curating content and becoming a broadcaster.
You were mentioning the BBC and CNN. Now, if you think about it, CNN also started in a different way, but in the same way as now everybody could actually get started. And that's, I think, it's the moment of change into your mindset. I want you to start thinking like Ted Turner, and I don't want you to think like an egomaniac, because if you're creating content, there's two kinds of content. There's selfish content, that you're creating content talking about how incredible you are and how many accomplishments have you got. But there's also content that is going to be very useful for your target audience, and that's what you have to be thinking about. And that's the important thing. Now, I have a video right now here from Ted Turner, which in the 1980s, he explains why he created CNN. Have a look.
I know that we will succeed, and I pledge to you that we will not let the American public down. I wanted to start the cable news network because I felt that America needed an in-depth voice in what's going on in the news, and a news service that would cover those areas like the financial news and the sports news that aren't adequately covered. You can do so much more in 24 hours than you can in 24 minutes.
If Alexander the Great could conquer the known world, why couldn't I start CNN? I thought it through really carefully, but I'd studied a lot more than most of my competitors. Most people haven't worked as hard as I have or studied as hard as I have, because when you look back in my life, most of my decisions, almost all of them, were brilliant. I got the idea for CNN for a number of reasons, but one primarily was that I worked till 6 or 7 o'clock at night. After I drove home from work, by the time I got there, the early news was over, and I had to go to bed at 10 because I got up real early to go to work the next morning, and I missed the 11 o'clock news. We didn't have a 10 o'clock news then. So I never saw television news, and I knew there were a lot of people like me. I knew that if it was on all the time, and all news radio had already proven successful. So I figured, if it worked on radio, it'd work on TV too.
And since we're going to be on for such a long period, continuously, we sign on June 1, and barring satellite problems in the future, we won't be signing off until the world ends. We'll be on, we will cover it live. That will be our last event. We'll play the national anthem one time, and that's all.
It was a whole new concept.
Yeah, legend. So what has happened is that he saw the need. There was only 3 broadcasting stations here in the United States. And he thought, well, I'm going to do something for those people that cannot see the news at 11 o'clock at night because they go to sleep. How interesting. That was 1980. Right now, what is it, 40 years now, we are having the same opportunity. So that's why I want you to start thinking like Ted Turner and not like if you will be an egomaniac. Do you think that CNN would have had the same impact if 24 hours they would have been talking about Ted Turner and how incredible Ted Turner was?
Well, they wouldn't, and you'd also see that the current challenges around the world are often led by people talking about themselves and how great they are, and not talking about their audience or thinking about what the audience needs. Not having a go at anybody, but it's just a truth.
Exactly. So that's how the whole thing goes. So let's just dive a little bit and try to start thinking like broadcasting moguls, because I think that's exactly where we should be looking at. So right now, if you think about it, if you think of the news, what we are going to be thinking of is, of course, we're going to be doing the ABC, the CBS, the NBC, the Fox, the CNN, the BBC. That's what the major broadcasting companies are. Those guys we're not going to be competing with because, of course, they are the big guys there. So that's just impossible. Now, if we also start analyzing what is also available, we can see that there's other channels. So, I mean, besides that we're going to have the specialty channel. So we can have the Disney Channel, the USA Channel. We can have a comedy network. We can have the MTV. I do not even know if that exists anymore. So we have different channels. But now, if we dig even deeper, we're going to find this, which I think is even more interesting. This is just a list of the thousands and thousands and thousands of channels which are there, which possibly we don't even know about. So when we are trying to create a strong footprint for us on the internet, we have one amazing medium, which, by the way, is not a social media platform. Most people get confused because, of course, you can like and you can comment, and they say, yeah, well, YouTube goes and it is the same as Facebook or as Twitter. It's a complete different thing. First of all, YouTube is the second biggest search engine there is in the internet. After Google, it's also a Google property. So we have to think about it. So they offer you the possibility of start a channel with you. What is the biggest mistake that speakers do? They create a channel, and that channel is going to be YouTube/channels/name of speaker. And that is what it is all about. It's exactly the same thing as we are telling you before. If Ted Turner would have started his channel and the whole channel would have been about Ted Turner and everybody will be talking about Ted Turner, of course, I mean, nobody would have watched anything. But he figured out what his audience wanted, and he started creating programs that were related to what his audience wanted. Now that we know that our speakers, I mean, the people that we're looking for, the people that we're looking for to attract as much as possible are speakers. I mean, who else would you think, Dave, will benefit from the content that we have in that channel?
Well, obviously entrepreneurs, small business owners, people who want to get their stuff out of their niche, people who are running a charity, people have a tribe or an organization, people have a CSR that they want to be able to publicize, people who have a really important cause that they want to make sure the world gets to know about. There's something I was going to throw in earlier, which I forgot, but just came back to me, Ernesto, and it's really, it was inspired by what you said there about YouTube being the world's second most important search engine. If you're umming and ahhing about getting onto YouTube, imagine you got a chance to make your own content directly onto Google. Not putting onto a website that Google finds, but writing it onto Google. That's what YouTube is.
Yeah, correct. So now we have an audience. We know that it's not about us. Now we have an audience. We know what the audience is all about. So then we have to start thinking, well, what would be the shows, what would be the programming that they will be very interested in seeing? So as you can see, if you go there to the channel, there's going to be the description of your channel, which is going to be the channel keywords. So after a lot of work, I realized that these were the best channels that I could find to describe the content that I will be able to provide. So business growth, entrepreneurship, personal development, professional speaking, virtual speaking, consulting, mentoring, etc., etc. So would that describe more or less, Dave, the right kind of content that we can provide to our audience? So we know who the audience is. Would that describe more or less the kind of content that our audience is going to like?
It describes pretty much the world that we're involved in. And I mean, I couldn't see all of it there for long enough to look through everything, but it pretty much, it ticks a lot of the boxes. Yeah, I mean, it does certainly tell people about the things that they need to be ticking off, but there's like a million words underneath it that people can start to own.
Yeah, well, that's exactly the whole point. So now we have what the channel is all about. So now what we're going to do, and this is the slide which is going to blow your mind because it's going to make everything perfectly clear. So here we go. I'm just going to make it big so that you can see the whole thing. So we have Speak in Dubai YouTube channel. We have the speakers, wannabe speakers, experts, coaches, and entrepreneurs. Those are going to be the audience. That's a perfect niche for us. And then we have all those different keywords which are going to describe each and every topic that might be interesting for our audience. Now, here's what it's going to be really interesting. If you think about it, the way that YouTube calls it, they call it playlists. Those playlists are the way that you sort out each and every one of the videos that you create. So what happens is that if you think about it in broadcasting terms, your playlists is your programming. So if you think about what we were saying a little bit earlier, you could have a program which is on business growth or entrepreneurship or personal development or whatever it is, and then you create your programming playlists. You create every single one of these keywords becomes actually a playlist. Now, let me make it clearer for you because possibly you're saying, what is this guy talking about? Okay, so let me just go into another channel. Let me go into the channel because the internet is full of channels which are for foodies. And this is just somebody that is called Home Cooking Adventure. She has 1.3 million followers, and she's using the exact same recipe that I'm going to be talking about. So if you can see, you go over there and you see exactly what the channel is about. It's about Home Cooking Adventure, new recipe videos every week. So she says when the shows are going to be showing and what's the channel about. That's just very, very clear. So now if we go a little bit deeper, we are going to see that she has her playlists. Each and every playlist that she has is a channel keyword. So every keyword becomes a playlist. And now in one playlist, you have 15 videos, 10 videos, 25 videos, whatever it is. So possibly you remember that I was mentioning in another show that it is 421 videos that you require. Now you know why. Because if you have 30 keywords and you need to have 30 different playlists or 25 different playlists, and in every playlist you're going to have 5 or 6 or 10 or 15 different videos, that's what's going to happen. So don't get overwhelmed. Now you know exactly how it is built. First of all, you need to find out what your audience is. You need to make a description of what your channel is about. You have to find out exactly what your keywords are going to be, and then you have to create those playlists, and then you have to start populating those lists with different shows and different videos that you're having there. And then before you know it, you are going to become the authority in your niche. Now, if you would like to compete in the cooking niche, or if you would like to compete in the gaming niche, or if you would like to compete in the blogging niche, that's going to be very difficult. But guess what? Nobody in the speaking industry is doing this. This is information coming straight from the big guys. And I have researched everybody and nobody's doing it. And this is the reason why Dave and I have been working so hard in creating this kind of content.
I love it. I think it's absolutely stunning what you've shared. And also, there's one thing to consider as well, that there might not be a lot of speakers who are stepping in and realizing exactly what you're talking about. But if you really want to get that niche working, get your expertise as a speaker and throw it at one of the niches where nobody's doing this. How many plumbers are talking about plumbing? Okay, maybe it's difficult to monetize, you've got to physically get there, but you could still have an affiliate site where you're selling equipment online and you have the authority on it. If you've got great speaking ability, why fight people for the same gene pool of clients? Why not turn your skill set, which at the end of the day is presenting, onto something that people haven't even thought of yet? And right now, with the amount of technology and changes and things that are coming, you're in a perfect position. There's enough for everybody. We've just gone from the gigs that used to be in your town or maybe your vicinity to being across 7 billion potential clients around the world. Is there enough speaking gigs for everybody? 100%.
Absolutely. So your important mindset change for today is think like Ted Turner, not like an egomaniac. That's incredibly important. Make sure that you figure out what are going to be the channel keywords that you're going to require. You require between 20 and 30 keywords. They are saying that the right number is about 25, 20 to 25. That's the right number. And then you're going to create different playlists, which are going to be based, giving information to that. And you possibly it's going to take you a year because you're going to be creating all this content. But guess what? After that year, you are the authority in that specific market. And hardly anybody's going to be able to take you down. That's the same story as PewDiePie, as Mr. Beast, all these guys. And you know what? They will not be sharing this information. I mean, it's actually research and reverse engineering that got me to this clue. And that I think that you need to take into consideration.
I love it. I don't know anybody who can reverse engineer business systems the way that you do, Ernesto. And I've watched you do it with my mouth just jaw dropping for so many years. And I love what you just shared there. That's brilliant. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you really enjoyed it, then make sure you watch one of these 2 videos afterwards. And Ernesto, why are you staring at the top of my head?
Dave, your hair is actually thinning out.
Well, if it is, it's about the only thing getting thin on this show.
Here on this side, we have some more amazing videos for you to watch.